Robert1 here, coming at you with a new Yu-Gi-Oh video. And in today's Yu-Gi-Oh video, I'm coming at you with a very interesting discussion, at least an interesting discussion towards my thoughts and opinions on the game currently. And it's something that I've been thinking about quite a lot recently because the game has actually been changing quite frequently because of this mainly. And it's just a thought that came into my head, popped into my head, and I wanted to discuss. Now, the main reason this sort of thought came into my head is because of the UK Nationals 2019. The event that I went to quite recently, I came top 16, I did really well, but the deck I actually took into that event is kind of the reason why I wanted to talk about it. And now I'm not saying it's Salomon Great in general, this discussion isn't purely based on Salomon Great, but it's about the amount of cards I played in my deck. I chose to play 41 cards. Now, I didn't choose this on a pure fact that, 41 cards, it's probably going to help me more, it's probably going to be like that, but it's because I couldn't actually make room in my deck for the other cards that I wanted, and as I said in my deck profile, Will of the Salomon Great was my 41st card, and I really did want to keep the Will of the Salomon Great in my main deck. And going through the whole event with 41 cards, playing the whole event, having a lot of interesting interactions in the whole event, and even though I played 41 cards, I didn't feel the deck was unbalanced. I didn't feel once in the entire event that playing 41 cards hindered my deck at all. And that's actually something that I've felt really self-conscious about in decks that don't play cards like Pot of Desires and all of this stuff, because if you're playing a deck with more than 40 cards, it does hinder the consistency quite a bit. But in the decks that we're playing nowadays, which is kind of one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about this, playing more than 40 cards doesn't hinder your consistency. And that's kind of the discussion that I wanted to put forward today. How many cards in your main deck should you be maining? Now, obviously, in this current format, we're seeing multiple different decks play multiple different numbers. You see decks playing just the standard 40 cards, where you try to keep your consistency as high as possible, so you can get to all those combo pieces, hand traps, all of the things along those lines. You see hybrid decks playing like 60 cards with like Orcust, Pendulum, Heroes, Dinosaurs, Thunder Dragons, Light of Sekka, all of this stuff. You see Orcust decks in general playing around 46, 47 cards because they're able to splash the dangers into multiple different strategies. You just see a whole load of decks playing a different number of cards in their main deck, and it doesn't really hinder the strategy at all. And you actually see more consistency because of this. You see decks that are playing more cards with more consistency. And I know we've had these formats in the game where it's like playing 60 cards was just like one of the best things ever because you had like Fairy Tale Snow, you had the grass, that grass looks greener. But now we don't have those cards. We have a different sort of format that is like every deck plays so many search cards that even though you're playing a ton of draw cards, I mean a ton of cards in general, up to like 50 cards. Even though you're playing up to 50 cards, you have so much searchability in your deck that that number means nothing. And that's just really intriguing to me, thinking that we've hit a point in the game where 40 cards isn't the best number. Now, obviously 40 cards is still a very good number. It's a number that really does give you the amount of cards you need to play the game. It allows you to keep your consistency as high as possible. But we're in a format where so many decks have so many search cards that playing more than 40 cards doesn't matter. Like, for instance, let's look at a deck like Orcust. Orcust is a deck that utilizes so many cards in their deck. Like, they're using like free connector, the Trickstar engine, the connector summons the Orcust from the deck, giving you the instant Orcust combo and reducing a hand trap. You play the Trickstar engine that normally it's accompanied with 2 terraforming, light stages, Candina, Korobane. Just alone in there, that was what, 5 search cards. You're playing the Dangers, which is normally a 9-card package, which is free Tsuchinoko, free Nessie, free Jackalope, the two Nessie and Jackalope giving you summons from deck, and then the Snake just giving you a best extra draw. You're seeing like every orcust card in the deck outside of Skeleton being a combo extender, being able to just send the Nightmare to the graveyard to then send a Harp Horror to the graveyard to then start off your whole combo. You're seeing the Phantom Knights in the deck as well, which banish themselves to get like Boots and Cloak and Boots, Cloak, Fogblade, Shade Brigade. You're seeing in the Orcust alone, this deck plays about 47 to 50 cards, but the deck is just pure searchability, pure consistency. And looking at a deck like that plays so many search cards, so many consistency cards, it playing more than 40 cards means nothing. Another deck that's kind of like this, Salomon Great, which is another really good example for this video, because it's a deck that can play more than 40 cards. As I showed, it can play up to 41, maybe 42, but it plays around 13 ways to get to Gazelle. It plays around 13 ways to get to Gazelle. It plays the 1 debug, free Signet Mining, free of the Brains on a free Circle of the Salomon Great, free Foxy, that's 10 cards, and then the free Gazelle themselves. That's 13 cards that get you to a Gazelle, essentially. Foxy being the one that's a little off because it doesn't guarantee you the Gazelle, but it's a way to get to Gazelle. And also there's another card, such as Foolish Burial, that can get you to Gazelle, and there's also the extra deck area as well, such as with Mirage Stallion, that also can get you to Gazelle. So if you open Spinny Foxy, that's a Mirage Stallion that gets you Gazelle. So you're essentially playing your whole deck is a way to get to Gazelle. Foolish Burial gets you to Gazelle if you have the Will of the Salomon Great. Even in a deck like Salomon Great that doesn't have all these additional consistency cards, has 13 cards in the main deck to get you to Gazelle, and then 2 more in the extra deck, which are majority of the time 2 Mirage Stallions. And looking at other decks that kind of have this strategy as well. Pendulums, for instance. Pendulums, they're pure consistency. Looking at Pendulums as a strategy currently, you're playing free Endymion, the Endymion spell card, that gives you the ability to just search any Endymion in your deck. Pendulum Call, Duelist Alliance, Electromite, which is an extra deck option, Chronograph Sorcerer, the Zephyr package, which is more searchability. There are so many decks in the game currently that can play over 40 cards because of Pendulum strategy. At Nationals, I played a 60-card Pendulum Orcust deck. I drew with that deck. I couldn't beat it. I had the ability to deal the damage in the game free, but I didn't have the time. But nonetheless, I did lose to that guy at least one of those games. I can't remember if it was game 1 or 2, but I did lose to him. And he was playing a 60-card Pendulum deck, with Orcust cards included. So many decks in this format can play more than 40 cards. Just for those 3 examples, Pendulum, Salomon Great, they can play up to anywhere of 42 cards, which obviously isn't a lot higher than 40 cards, but they can do that. Orcust, they can play anywhere up to 50, 60 cards if they're splashing in an engine. There's options to play more cards in this format, and it's an interesting idea in my personal opinion, because it's not something that we truly look upon when we're thinking Yu-Gi-Oh! When we're trying to build a deck, we try to build it as consistently as possible. So when we're thinking about a deck like, I don't know, Pendulum or Salomon Great, you want to try and make it 40 cards, but there are those cards that can't fit in a 40-card deck, which are just so good and so broken that you have to surpass 40 cards to be able to fit them in your deck. And that's kind of the discussion that I wanted to have with you guys. I wanted to talk about this, I wanted to think about this, and I wanted to hear your opinions on this. How many cards do you personally think you should be making in your main deck? I personally feel 40 is the correct number in your main deck. It is the best number in my personal opinion, but from me just going into Nationals with a 41 card deck, it has made me think, is 40 cards the right number? Is it the number that I feel most comfortable with? Should I be playing 40 cards? I personally still like the number 40. I don't think it should be higher than that majority of the time, but obviously in strategies in the game, where the game is evolving, where the game is changing, more cards can equal better. So we're in a format where a load of decks just play a ton of consistency cards, where decks just have so much consistency that playing more than 40 cards is acceptable and is good, but is it really good? I personally feel like it's good depending on the deck you're playing. Something like Necros can play more than 40 cards in my personal opinion because they just play all search cards. Pendulums, sure, they play all search cards as well. Salomon Great, it's hard to say with a deck like that because it's a deck that does have trouble with searching, and if it doesn't get to a Gazelle, then the deck kind of suffers because of that, so trying to keep that at 40 is kind of probably best. But what do you guys personally think? Do you guys think you should be playing more than 40 cards? Do you guys think you shouldn't be playing more than 40 cards? I feel like it's a good idea to play more than 40 cards just because it gives you the ability to go even further in the game, but obviously everybody has their own opinion. So tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you playing more than 40 cards? Do you think you should be playing 40 cards? I personally feel like 40 cards is the correct number, but from my experience, I have played more than 40 cards in the past. I have played a 60 card deck. I've played a 42 card deck with pendulums. Like majority of my pendulum decks were 42 cards, but tell me what you think of that in the comment section below. Do you play more than 40 cards? Do you think 60 cards? Do you think 50 cards? Do you think 47 cards? What do you think is the correct number in Yu-Gi-Oh right now? But guys, tell me all your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to press the like button, subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh content, press the notification bell to be notified of any Yu-Gi-Oh videos or streams, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Robot1 signing out. I just want to know how many cards. Later.